Good morning and welcome to Mobile Device Manager Plus training. Before I can start off, I'd like to know whether you're able to hear my voice as well as view the presentation. Please confirm the same by commenting on chat. Thank you folks for your confirmation. Now let me kick off. Firstly, let me introduce myself. I am Achyutan and I'm happy to be your trainer for today. Mobile Device Manager Plus training program is a 2-week training program aimed at facilitating better understanding of all the features that MDM has on offer. We are in week 2 today where we'll be covering device enrollment and provisioning. The previous session saw us covering app management as well as device security. In case of app management, we saw how MDM helps you manage the complete app lifecycle. In case of device security, we had a look at the various methods that are provided by MDM to secure both the data and the device. In case you missed the previous training session, it is available in this link given below. Further, we'll share a copy of this training session with you through mail within 2 working days. So let us have a look at the training agenda. So this is the agenda in a nutshell. Firstly, we are going to have an overview of Mobile Device Manager Plus for those of you who are unfamiliar with how the product actually works. Here, we'll have a look at a general introduction about Mobile Device Manager Plus or MDMP. We're going to have a high-level look at the MDMP architecture. We're going to have a look at the ports that are required for facilitating mobile device management. And then we are going to see how MDM manages these mobile devices. This training session incorporates problem solution approach whereby I have taken a few scenarios that I've commonly encountered in support. The first such scenario is enrolling mobile devices. So enrolling here refers to onboarding the device onto MDM for further management. So we are going to look at the various methods that are provided by MDM for onboarding both devices that are already in use as well as devices that are in stock. The second scenario is going to be pushing configurations to manage devices. Having onboarded the devices to MDM, the next obvious step is to push certain prerequisite configurations onto the device to ensure that it is usage ready when handed over to the employee. So we are going to look at all the basic policies that are supported by MDM, which makes the life of an IT administrator easy. And we're going to also look at the method that is provided by MDM to prevent unauthorized access to your corporate Exchange servers. As you all may know, Exchange is continuing to be the backbone of many organizations and it contains a lot of confidential corporate data. In such a scenario, you wouldn't want any kind of unauthorized data access. So we'll look at the various methods that are provided by MDM to achieve the same. This will be followed by a quick look at few scenarios and their solutions. We'll end this session with the questions that have been posed by the customers. In case you have got any queries, please don't hesitate to post it on chat. I've got an expert panel waiting here ready to answer your questions. So firstly, we are going to have an overview of Mobile Device Manager Plus. Mobile Device Manager Plus can be used for managing smartphones, tablets, laptops, desktops, running across iOS, Android, Windows, as well as Chrome OS. In addition to this, MDM also lets you manage Apple TVs. Mobile Device Manager Plus is available as an add-on to Manage Engine Desktop Central, an integrated desktop and mobile management solution that is currently available on premises. In case you just want to manage mobile devices, you can opt for the standalone product offering, which is Manage Engine Mobile Device Manager Plus, which is available on premises as well as on cloud, as well as hosted on AWS as well as Azure Marketplace. In addition to this, we have got a dedicated offering for MSPs, which is Manage Engine Mobile Device Manager Plus MSP, which is currently available on premises. So MDM integrates with a lot of other applications to ensure an ease of IT admins and their day-to-day tasks. For example, MDM integrates with help desk applications such as Spiceworks and Manage Engine's own help desk offering, which is Service Desk Plus. It also integrates with low-code app development platforms such as Zoho Creator, as well as customer relationship management software Zoho CRM. Let us understand the Mobile Device Manager Plus architecture. This will provide you with a wholesome idea about how the product actually works. It consists of three important components, namely the MDM server, the notification services, and the devices that are to be managed. As you can see, the server doesn't directly contact the devices. Instead, it contacts a notification server, which in turn wakes up the devices, after which the device contacts the server. As you can see here, notification services are platform independent with Apple Push Notification Service or APNS for iOS, Firebase Cloud Messaging or FCM for Android, and Windows Notification Service or WNS for Windows. As the devices to be managed are mobile and are always on the go, it is recommended that you match your internal IP address with an external IP address. For those of you who are worried about exposing your server to the external network such as internet, you can optionally configure Secure Gateway. Secure Gateway, as the name implies, ensures that all the incoming communications to the server are routed through itself before reaching MDM server, thereby adding an extra layer of security. Additionally, you can also configure Active Directory for authentication purpose. You need to worry about this only in case of the on-premises offering. As I just explained in architecture, the mobile device management is possible through the various types of communication. And for this purpose, you need ports which basically facilitate communication. For example, the device to MDMP server uses the port 9383 on secure HTTP channel. The MDMP server to notification service uses the port 443. And the device to notification service uses these ports. These ports are to be open in your firewall or any other third-party external filters that you're using. So you must be curious as to how MDM actually manages devices. So in case of iOS and Windows devices, it leverages the native MDM client that is already present on the device. In case of Android devices, you need to have the ME MDM app installed on the device for managing them. So now that we are done with the overview, let us have a look at our first scenario for today, which is enrolling mobile devices. So enrolling, as I previously explained, is the process of onboarding the device onto the MDM solution, and it's the first step for management. So assume I'm an IT administrator of an organization, Zilker, with a predominant mobile-only workforce. Now I have decided to use MDM for managing these devices. But even before I start off, there is a problem. So I've got two different categories of devices. One that is already in use, which is the ones that have been previously handed over to the employees. And the other is the new devices which are fresh and in stock. So we are going to look at the various methods that are provided by MDM for enrolling both these category of devices. So firstly, we are going to look at the enrollment options that are available for devices that are already in use. So we've got two options here. The first being enrollment using invites, the second option being self-enrollment. Before we look deep into these methods, we need to understand the benefits of enrolling devices using these two methods. The first benefit is that you can isolate your personal and corporate workspace. In case you're an organization which embraces usage of personal devices as a part of your workforce, you would want to still manage this personal device, at the same time ensuring that the user's privacy is not violated. When you enroll a device using invites or self-enrollment, it ensures that the personal and the corporate workspace are isolated, with the enterprise having full control over the corporate workspace while exercising zero control over the personal one, thereby ensuring complete privacy for your employees. The second benefit is that it prevents unauthorized data access. The primary purpose for you to configure or have an MDM solution is to ensure that there is no way an unauthorized data access can happen. MDM ensures that those devices that are not managed by MDM cannot access any kind of confidential corporate data. Similarly, it also prevents the sharing of corporate data that is already present on the device, thereby ensuring that not only can the data be accessed in an unauthorized manner, it cannot be shared in an unauthorized manner as well. So now that it is done, let us look at the first method for today, which is enrollment using email invites. So this is the basic workflow whereby the administrator sends an email invite to the user. The user accepts this invitation and follows the instructions that are present in the invitation to initiate enrollment, after which the device gets registered with MDM. So let me take you to the server to explain how this happens. So I'll take you to the server right now. So click on home first. So this is the basic home page of MDM. As you can see, this has got a common dashboard where it provides you high-level details regarding the devices that have been enrolled, their platforms, their ownership, as well as the devices that have the any blacklisted app running on it. At the top, you have got a few options that are present, and these pertain to the respective modules. We are going to look at some of these options in greater detail during today's training session. But first up, let us concentrate on enrollment. So I click on the enrollment option from the top menu. So before we start off, there's one more prerequisite, and this is to be done on the server, which is configuring APNS. So as I previously explained, APNS is required for managing Apple devices. So to create an APNS certificate, click on the APNS certificate option from the left menu. As you can see, I've already configured an APNS certificate. So in case you want to configure that, you just click on this option and you'll see a set of instructions which are to be followed to create an APNS certificate. So once you have done that and uploaded the APNS certificate, you'll see a view very similar to this one. The APNS certificate that you have uploaded expires within an year and you'll have to replace that. So to receive notifications prior to the APNS expiry, you need to provide an email address. As you can see, I've done just that. This view also has the basic APNS certificate details such as when it was created and when it expires, so that the IT administrator can be prepared well in advance regarding the expiry. Additionally, you can also update details. Say you want to change the email address that was used for configuring, you can do that. Or in case you want to completely remove the APNS from the MDM server, you can click on this button. So now that it is done, let us see how to enroll a device. So I'll click on the devices option from the left menu. Click on enroll device. So I'm going to enroll an iOS device. So I select Apple and then I select iOS devices. Now there are two options here. In case the IT administrator is in possession of the device, he or she can enroll the device by themselves. So the option by myself is to be chosen when you are in possession and have the device with you. In case the device is with the employees and you want the employees to initiate enrollment, you need to select this option through user invites. So let me just show you what happens in case you select the option through user invites. The next step is to configure the type of the user. So in case you have added Active Directory to MDM and you want to send an email invite based on the AD username, you can select the option domain user, select the domain and then provide the AD username and then send an invite. Or optionally, in case the user is not a part of your Active Directory, you can select the option local user, provide a relevant username as well as email address, then specify the type of ownership, whether the device is owned by the enterprise or it's a personal device. You can also assign it to a particular group. So you must be wondering as to what this concept of group is. Group, as the name suggests, lets you cluster devices based on some common criteria. Assume there are multiple departments in your enterprise, and we are going to take an example of a particular department, say sales department, as going where all employees and their devices are going to have the same set of policies as well as apps. So what MDM does is that it lets you configure these policies and apps one time and associate it to a group. And anytime a device falls into this group, the policies and apps that have been previously associated to the group gets automatically associated to the devices as well. So it's recommended that you create groups based on the departments that are present in your enterprise. So in this case, I've created multiple departments. So in case I want the device to be assigned to the finance department, I select this option, finance department. Additionally, you can also configure the email invite that is being sent to the users. So for our case today, I'm going to use the option by myself. So as you can see, the email has been pre-filled. This is going to be a personal device. and I don't want to assign it to any group. So I click on select and click on next. As you can see, an enrollment request is being created. So this is pretty much what the employees will receive as an enrollment invite as well. So all you need to do is either scan the QR code or open this URL in a browser to initiate installation. So once that is done, you need to provide an OTP if and when prompted. So once that is done, the enrollment gets complete. So let us see what happens on the device end. So as you can see, the user needs to provide the OTP and then click on continue, after which an MDM profile installation gets initiated. As I previously told you, MDM manages Apple devices by leveraging the existing MDM client, native MDM client that is present on the device. So to leverage this native MDM client, MDM needs to install a profile, as you can see here. Now I click on install, and once the profile gets installed, the enrollment is done and the device gets onboarded to MDM successfully. So you must be wondering as to whether you need to create an invite every single time for all the employees that are present in your organization. Answer is no. MDM does provide you with an easier option, which is bulk enrollment. To explain that, I'll take you back to the server. Click on devices and click on bulk enrollment. All you need to do is to upload a CSV file requiring the basic details, the ones that we already provided when creating an enrollment invite, such as username, domain name, email address, etc. So once you add these details and import a CSV file, this imported CSV file will be added to the MDM server, and then the MDM server will automatically send enrollment invites to all those who have been added and present in the CSV file, thus easing the process of sending enrollment invites. Let me just close this. So how about further easing this process? How about the IT administrator not getting involved with the enrollment at all? What if the users could enroll the devices by themselves? Is there an option in MDM? Yes, we do provide an option which is called as self-enrollment. Self-enrollment, as the name suggests, ensures that the device users enroll the devices by themselves by following a set of instructions. So this is the basic self-enrollment workflow. The user accesses the self-enrollment link from a self-service portal and then provides his or her Active Directory credentials to authenticate themselves, and then the device gets automatically registered with MDM. So let us see how this is done. So I'll take you back to the server. Click on self-enrollment. So in case you want self-enrollment to be applicable for all the AD groups, you select this option. In case you want this to be a privilege and want it only for specific AD groups, like say a group of managers, you can select this option, selected AD groups, and add those AD groups as well. So in case you want it to be allowed to all the AD groups but exclude specific ones, you can select the option all AD groups and then exclude specific groups by clicking on this option here. Since this enrollment happens without the knowledge of the IT administrator, it is recommended that you select this option, which ensures that any time a device gets enrolled via self-enrollment, the IT administrator gets notified via email. As you can see, I have provided an email address for that purpose. And similar to your enrollment by invites, you can actually auto-assign groups. So in case I want all Apple devices that are owned by a corporate to fall into a particular department, I can do just that. So in case I want the personal Android devices to fall into a particular group, I can do that as well. So now that this is done, what is the URL that needs to be shared to the employees to initiate enrollment? So this URL is present right here. So this is the URL that needs to be shared across internal message boards and forums for the users to initiate enrollment via self-enrollment. So once you are done with your configuration, click on Save. As you can see, the enrollment settings have been configured successfully, and now the users can enroll their devices using this method as well. So let us see what happens on the device end. So the user needs to click on premise and then provide the MDM server name as well as the port and provide the email address. and then they need to provide their AD username and password as well as the domain name, and then specify the ownership type and click on continue. Once that is done, the devices get enrolled successfully. Now coming back to the original question, so why did we categorize the device enrollment into two, like devices that are already in use and new devices? So the methods that we saw for enrolling devices that are already in use has two major problems. First among which is that in case the IT administrator wants to enroll new devices using the methods that we discussed just now, the IT administrator needs to complete the initial setup manually. The initial setup here refers to the setup screens that are shown when the device gets activated for the first time or when it gets factory reset. So the IT administrator needs to traverse this 10 or 15 odd screens before he can actually initiate enrollment. The second problem, I'm sorry, the second problem is that there's still some amount of admin or user intervention that is still required to either initiate and or complete enrollment, which brings us to this question as to whether MDM allows automating enrollment. The answer is a big yes. MDM does allow you to automate enrollment. In case of iOS devices, it lets you enroll devices via Apple Configurator or Apple Business Manager, which was formerly known as DEP. In case of Android devices, the enrollment is done via EMM token enrollment or zero touch enrollment. We're going to look at each of these methods in greater detail. But before that, we need to understand the benefits for automated enrollment. The first benefit is that it lets you silently install apps without any user intervention. We discussed this in last week's training session. The second biggest benefit is that it lets you set up devices and provision them under kiosk mode. Kiosk mode is a specialized mode which lets you lock the devices to a particular app or a set of apps, as well as predefined settings which cannot be modified by the device users. The third major benefit is that it provides full support for all the profiles and configurations that are available in MDM. So the first method that we are going to see today is Apple Configurator. So this is the basic workflow for Apple Configurator. So we need to install and set up Apple Configurator on a Mac machine. Apple Configurator is a free program provided by Apple for bulk and efficient deployment of iOS devices. Then you connect the devices that are to be managed via USB to the Mac machine. Then configure the devices which then get enrolled with MDM on device activation. So what do I mean by configuring the devices? When I configure the devices using Apple Configurator, I basically add the MDM server details which are used by the device when it gets activated for the first time to initiate enrollment. And the second step with respect to configuring is that it lets me modify the iOS Setup Assistant. iOS Setup Assistant here refers to the initial set of screens that are shown when the device gets activated for the first time. Apple Configurator lets you skip either some of these steps or all of these steps based on your requirement. So let me show you how Apple Configurator needs to be used for enrollment. For this purpose, I'll be taking you to the Apple Configurator setup. So this is the Apple Configurator setup. As you can see, I've already connected a device via USB. So how does the MDM server MDM server details as well as the iOS setup percent configuration reach the device that is connected via USB? It is done using something called as Blueprint. So Blueprint bundles both the MDM server details as well as the iOS setup percent preferences, and this Blueprint then gets distributed to the device and is mandatory for enrollment. So let me show you how to create a blueprint. So I click on this blueprints button and click on edit blueprints. Now I'm going to create a new blueprint for this purpose. So I first name the blueprint. And to add the MDM server details as well as setting up the iOS assistant, I need to do something called as preparing the blueprint. So to do that, I click on the blueprint and then click on prepare. this is going to be a manual configuration as we are going to do all these steps manually. Ensure that this option needs to be selected, supervised devices. Supervision provides the administrator with extra control as well as additional features, which lets you manage the devices better. So once you've selected this option, click on Next. As you can see, I've already created a virtual server, but for your benefit, I'm going to create another server. So I'll click on this option, New Server, click on Next. And now I need to provide a reference name for this server. So I'm going to provide one like Zilker Test. And then I need to provide a URL. So this URL is the one that is going to be referred by the devices when they get activated for the first time to initiate enrollment with MDM. So I'll let you know where this URL is present. So I'll take you back to the MDM server. Click on Apple Configurator. Click on Configuration Steps. So I'll take you directly to step number 5 and just click on this URL. Now that this is copied, this needs to be pasted back on the Apple Configurator setup. So I'll take you back to the Apple Configurator again. Now paste this and click on Next. So all the Trust Anchor certificates that have been used in the MDM server are listed here. In case you want to add any additional certificates, you can do so by clicking on this button present here. As I've already configured another server, I'll quickly go back and use that server. So I'm going to use Zilker MDM. Click on Next. You need to provide the name of your organization as this will be displayed when the device gets activated for the first time. So as you can see, I've provided an organization name here. So I'll click on Next again. So this is the iOS Setup Assistant. As you can see here, when you select this option, do not show any of these steps. None of the initial setup screens will be shown and the device will become usage ready immediately on device activation. In case I want to show only particular steps, I can select this option, show only some steps, and then select the steps that I want to be displayed. In case I want to show all these steps, I can select this option, show all steps. But right now, I do not want to show any of these steps, so I select this option and click on Prepare. As you can see, the blueprint has been prepared, and now the blueprint contains the MDM server details as well as the iOS setup percent configuration. The next step is to pass this on to the devices that have been connected via USB. For this purpose, I click on Done, select the device, right click, and then click on Apply. Then I select the applied blueprint. So once that is done, the devices get factory reset and then the enrollment gets initiated. So let us see what happens on the device end. As you can see, this is the initial welcome screen. So once this welcome screen is done, the next screen that is shown is the configuring a Wi-Fi network. So where you need to select a Wi-Fi network. So this is required for the device to contact the MDM server over the internet to initiate enrollment. So you can see the next step asks whether this particular configuration needs to be installed on the device. So this is required for MDM management, and the user needs to click on Apply Configuration. In case the user chooses to skip this configuration, the devices cannot be managed using MDM. So once I clicked on Apply Configuration, as you can see, the configuration gets installed and immediately the device is ready for use, and none of the setup steps are shown because we chose to skip all of them using Apple Configurator. So what is this step? Assigning enrolled devices to employees. So as we are dealing with new devices or devices in stock, there are high chances that these devices are to be handed over to the employees as and when they join. So instead of having the enrollment process completely done when an employee is joining, you can have the enrollment done well in advance and then assign users to these enrolled devices based on the employees and when they are joining. So I'll let you know how to assign users to the enrolled devices using MDM a little later in this presentation. So next method that we are going to see is EMM token enrollment, and this method facilitates automated enrollment of Android devices. So the workflow is pretty much simple. You need to download the MDM by providing the DPC identifier or the EMM token, and then you open the MDM app and scan a particular QR code, after which the device gets registered with MDM. So I'll show you what is the DPC identifier and the QR code that is to be scanned. So I'll take you back to the MDM server. Just close this. Go to EMM token enrollment. So this is the DPC identifier or the EMM token that is to be used. This is unique to Mobile Device Manager Plus and has been given by Google for faster enrollment of devices. And this is the QR code that is to be scanned for completing enrollment, and this QR code, similar to your self-enrollment URL, needs to be distributed across your internal message boards as well as forums. Now this is what happens on the device. When the device gets factory reset or activated for the first time, you're generally asked to provide a Google account. So instead of providing a Google account, you need to provide the EMM token or the DPC identifier, which, as I just explained, is AFW-MEMDM. So once you have provided that, click on Next, and then click on Scan QR, after which you scan the QR that I showed in the server to complete enrollment. Which brings us to this question. My organization seems to be growing rapidly and I've got 500 new devices. It's obviously going to be difficult for the IT administrator to actually open each of these devices, connect them via USB in case of Apple devices, to enroll devices via Apple Configurator, and to open the device and then scan the QR code to enroll Android devices using EMM token enrollment. So you must be wondering as to whether MDM provides a fully automated enrollment method which provides you with out-of-the-box enrollment, whereby the device gets enrolled automatically when it's unboxed for the first time. Yes, MDM does have methods for this, which is Apple Business Manager or ABM in case of iOS devices, and zero-touch enrollment in case of Android devices. We'll look at each of these methods. But before that, there are certain prerequisites. Prerequisite is that you need to create an account with Apple or Google based on the device platform that you plan on enrolling using this fully automated enrollment method. The second important prerequisite is that these devices need to be purchased either directly or from authorized resellers. So the first method that we are going to see is Apple Business Manager or ABM. In case you're an educational institution, Apple has a similar program called as Apple School Manager. Though they differ by names, the workflow and the process is going to be pretty similar. And today I'm going to explain you how to configure Apple Business Manager. So firstly, you need to integrate the MDM server with the ABM portal by using your Apple account. Then you add the devices to the ABM portal. Since the MDM server and the ABM portal are integrated, you're implicitly adding devices to the MDM server. As you can see here, this is admin performed and it's one time. Once the devices are distributed, they get enrolled with MDM automatically on device activation. This can be performed either by the user or the administrator. So let me explain how this is done. So I've gone to the server. Now click on enrollment from the top menu and select Apple enrollment. Now click on this download link to download a public key certificate that is to be added in the Apple Business Manager portal for initiating this integration. So I'll take you to Apple Business Manager. Now click on MDM servers from the left menu, and then provide a reference name for your virtual MDM server that is to be present in the ABM portal. This virtual MDM server will act as a replica of your proper MDM server that is present. So I now provide a reference name, and then I upload the key that I just downloaded, and then I click on Save. Now I click on Get Token and click on Download Server Token. Once I've downloaded the server token, I upload it back on the MDM server. And similar to your APNS, the service token expires within a year, and to receive notification prior to its expiry, you need to provide an email address. As you can see here, I have done just that, and then I click on upload. Third important step is the device activation settings, and similar to Apple Configurator, you can choose to skip either some or all of the initial setup screens. Additionally, to ease the process of user assignment, which is left to the IT administrator in previously explained enrollment methods, you can also choose to let the users authenticate themselves and auto-assign users by providing their AD credentials. So once this is done, click on Create. So as you can see, the virtual MDM server as present here, and as and when any device gets added to this virtual MDM server, it will get reflected here as well. So how to actually add devices to the ABM portal? So I take you back to the ABM portal. What you need to do here is to provide a DEP reseller ID of the resellers from whom the enterprise purchases their devices. So to add a DEP reseller ID, I click on Add. As you can see, I've provided reseller ID here, and then when I click on plus, this DEP reseller ID gets added here. So anytime the enterprise purchases devices from this particular reseller, there is this option of the reseller adding devices by themselves. So what happens in case of devices that I've already purchased? In that case, you'll have to manually add the devices, but Apple does provide you with three different methods of doing the same. You can either provide the serial number of the device in case the devices to be added are minimal. You can also provide the order details or upload a CSV file containing the device information for adding the devices to the ABM portal. So right now, I'm going to use the option of serial number. I've provided a serial number, and I would want it to get assigned to the virtual server that I created just now, which is Ilker SFO. I've done that as well, and then I click on Done. So once I click on Done, the devices get added to the ABM portal, after which they get enrolled when the device gets activated for the first time. So this is what happens on the device. As you can see, it is very similar to Apple Configurator, but the user doesn't have an option of skipping the configuration. This is the advantage with DEP. It ensures that users cannot revoke management, and also ensures that the MDM app gets installed by default. As you may remember, the MDM app is required for detecting jailbroken devices, to know the location of the devices, as well as a whole lot of other features as well. As you can see, once the user clicks on next, the configuration gets installed, and since we have chosen to skip all of the initial setup steps, none of it is shown and the device becomes usage ready. We're going to look at a pretty similar method for Android devices, which is zero touch enrollment. So similar to Apple DEP, you need to set up the Android zero touch portal by providing a Google account, and then you create an MDM configuration on the portal. This configuration then gets distributed to the devices that have been added to the portal. As you can see, these three steps are one time and are unbeen performed. So once the configuration has been distributed to the devices, you can then hand over the devices to the employees, which then gets enrolled with MDM automatically on activation. So let us see how this is done. Let me quickly take you to the Zero Touch portal. As you can see, firstly, I'm going to add a configuration. So I click on this plus button. So I provide a configuration name, and then I select the EMM vendor name, which in this case is Managing MDM. Then I need to provide something called as a DPC extras. So whatever details are provided here is used by the device on activation to contact the MDM server and initiate enrollment. So let me take you to the MDM server to show what is to be added for DPC extras. So I'll take you to the MDM server, click on Zero Touch Enrollment, and click on Zero Touch Enrollment Steps. So this is the JSON file that needs to be added under DPC extras. Once you have copied this one, paste it here, provide your company name, which gets displayed when the device gets activated, and then also optionally provide a contact email address. Once you're done with that, click on Apply. And then you need to add the reseller details, this reseller tab present here, and similar to Apple DEP, there's this option of the resellers adding the devices by themselves as and when you purchase. And in case you want to add existing devices, you can do so by clicking on the devices tab that is present here. So you can see I've already added a few devices here. So let us see what happens on the device end. So you can see the device is getting activated for the first time. There are a few screens, after which there's this option of asking the user to install ME-MDM app. As I explained previously, the Android devices require ME-MDM app to be present on the device for management. So user needs to click on accept and continue. After which the device is set up as a work device. Work device is Android's equivalent for supervision, which provides the IT administrator with additional control as well as extra set of features, further easing device management. So once I'm done with that, I click on finish to complete the enrollment process. Now let me show you something which I didn't show when I was explaining Apple Configurator, which is assigning users to devices. So let me quickly take you to the MDM server. As you can see, this is a device that has been enrolled but has not yet been assigned user. So in case I want to assign users in bulk, I can click on this button and then download a CSV file that contains details of the enrolled devices, then provide the other requisite details, upload it back, and thus the bulk user assignment takes place. So in case I want to add it one by one, I'm going to click on this link present here under action, which is assign user. It's going to be a local user. So I just select the name, admin. The email address gets automatically prefetched. I do not want to assign it to any group. And the device name is going to be TOS device. So once I do that, I click on assign. As you can see, the user is being assigned, and once the user gets assigned, the devices move from their respective enrollment views to the common enrollment view. As you can see, the device to which we assigned user recently has been added to the common enrollment view. This common enrollment view contains all devices that have been enrolled irrespective of the enrollment methods. As you can see, there have been devices that have been enrolled via invite through zero touch enrollment as well as EMM token. This brings us to the end of the first scenario. So let us quickly have a recap of all the enrollment methods that we just saw. In case of devices that are already in use, you can choose to enroll them via two different methods. The first method is by sending enrollment invites, which can be sent individually or in bulk. The other option is to let the users enroll devices by themselves using self-enrollment. In case of new devices, for iOS, we have got two different methods. One is Apple Business Manager or ASM, which was formerly known as Apple DEP. The second method is Apple Configurator. In case of Android, we saw EMM token as well as zero touch enrollment. Similar to Android and iOS, we have got methods for Windows as well. As you can see here, there are a whole lot of methods that are available in MDM for enrolling devices. In case you want to know more about all the enrollment methods that are present in MDM, you can opt for a personalized demo. In case you're interested in a personalized demo, please let us know on chat and we can arrange a demo session based on a date and time of your convenience. So this brings me to the end of the first scenario. The second scenario is pushing corporate configurations to manage devices. Having onboarded the device to MDM, the next step is to ensure that the device is usage ready by pushing all those basic configurations to the devices and handing it over to the employee, ensuring that the employee has minimal work to do on the device before he or she can actually start using it. So what are the basic configurations that we are going to see today? Firstly, I'm going to explain how to configure a strong passcode policy, how to set up mandatory device settings such as Wi-Fi, VPN, email, and Exchange. I'm going to explain how to configure single sign-on as well as how to have a customized wallpaper. So in case you're using devices for device signage or self-service portal, you'd obviously want your logo to be displayed on the device. We'll see how MDM helps you with that. So I'll quickly take you to the server, click on device management, and click on profiles. Profiles is similar to a blueprint whereby it bundles all the policies that are distributed to the devices. So I'm going to create a profile. So I click on create profile. As you can see, all the 4 OSs that are supported are listed here. So I'm going to create an Apple profile. So I select that and then I provide a name and click on continue. As you can see, these are the list of policies that are available for iOS. Now, right now we are going to concentrate on passcode policy. So I select passcode policy. I do not want the passcode to contain any simple values. So I'm going to click on no. And I want to make the passcode difficult to guess via brute force. So I'm going to have the passcode have proper alphanumeric values. And then the minimum passcode length is to be made as 6. So there are other optional parameters which can be configured as well. So once I'm done with that, I click on save and then I click on publish. Once I publish the profile, it is ready for distribution. To distribute this profile, click on this link present here. You can distribute this profile either to groups or devices. However, it is recommended that you distribute it to a device or set of devices, see whether the profile is working fine, and then distribute it to a group. So to distribute it to a device, click on devices, select the device, click on associate profile, and click on the profile that you just created, and then click on select. So once I'm done with it, the profile gets distributed and associated to the device automatically. Now let us see what happens on the device end. As you can see, the user is given a mandate that he or she needs to set a passcode based on whatever was configured on the MDM profile within a stipulated time period for continued device usage. So what happens in case when organization security standards for passcode changes? Simple. All you need to do is to modify this profile. So I'll show you how this is done. I'll take you back to the MDM server. Click on profiles. And let me just sort it by creation time. So this was the profile that I just created. So I click on my profile, click on profile details and click on modify. So assuming the passcode length has been changed from 6 to 8, I click on this option 8, click on save, and then I click on publish. So once I'm done with that, I can reassociate it to the devices which I've previously associated and the profile gets silently updated. So let us quickly see how to configure the other policies that I previously stated. So I'll create another profile. So I'm going to go for Apple again. Click on continue. So firstly, I'm going to configure a Wi-Fi policy. So to configure Wi-Fi policy, I need to provide the most basic information, which is the Wi-Fi SSID, which is Silvercorp. And I want to ensure that the device gets connected to this particular Wi-Fi automatically as and when it is within the vicinity. So I click on yes. In case it's going to be a hidden network, you can select that as well. And then you provide your security type that has been used to configure the Wi-Fi in your enterprise. So let me assume it is WEP here. And then you provide other requisite details, just password as well as a proxy in case you want to configure one. I click on save. So this policy has been configured. Now let me configure another policy, which is going to be VPN. So as you all may know, VPN is required for secure access of corporate resources from anywhere at any given point of time. With more organizations moving towards a mobile-only workforce, VPN has become more mandatory than ever before. So to configure a VPN policy, you need to provide a reference name, which I've already done, as you can see here. Then provide the VPN connection type. So MDM supports these many VPN types. So I'm going to retain L2TP. Provide a server name, which is silker.vpn.com. And then I provide the other requisite details, such as the user authentication, whether it's going to be done via passcode or RSA secure ID, and then provide other details as and when required. In addition to this, I can also optionally configure something called as VPN on demand, which ensures that as and when a user accesses a particular URL, the VPN gets automatically enabled without any user intervention. So in case I want to enable that, I click on yes, and then specify the domains for which the VPN needs to get enabled automatically. Similar to Wi-Fi, in case you want to configure a proxy, you can do that as well. Once you're done with that, remember to save it. And similar to having a VPN configured for your domains, you can also configure VPN for apps. So in case you want the communication, the network communication pertaining to a particular app to happen only through VPN, you can configure per app VPN. So in case I want Zoho, all communications pertaining to Zoho Creator to happen through a VPN, I can select that app, and I can also have this option of automatically enabling VPN, which prevents the user from having to enable it every single time the app is to be used. So I've clicked on yes for that. And also I can secure this network communication further using either app proxy or packet tunneling. Similar to VPN, you've got multiple VPN types here. So I can select the VPN type and provide the requisite information to complete the policy creation. So next one that we are going to see is email. So similar to the other payloads that we just saw, you need to provide certain mandatory details as well as certain optional details. For example, you need to provide an account display name, whether this account is going to be an IMAP account or a POP account. In my case, it's going to be a POP account. And then you need to configure the mail server, which is silker.mail.com. I want to configure it for both places. So you must be wondering, since email is a user-specific policy, do I need to configure it every single time for all the employees that are present? The answer is no. MDM uses something called as dynamic variables, which fetches the requisite details from the enrollment. For example, I need a username in this case. So what I'm going to do is, instead of providing specific usernames, I'm going to provide the dynamic variable percentage username percentage, which automatically fetches the username that is available in enrollment. So once I'm done with that, I can choose to have certain additional configurations, like whether I want to mandatorily use SSL for mail communication. I can select that if I want. In case I want to use SMIME for encryption and decryption, I can select that as well. So once I'm done with that, I need to save and publish the profile. So next up, we are going to see Exchange ActiveSync. So similar to the previous payloads, you need to provide an account name and select the host type. In this case, I'm going to configure it for O365. So I select this option. The Exchange server gets automatically prefetched. And similar to what we saw in the email payload, as you can see, we are going to use the dynamic variable percentage UPN percentage for username. You can choose to add an identity certificate. As you can see, certificate is another policy that is supported by MDM. And then I can choose to have the OAuth enabled or disabled as well. Now, once I'm done with that, I click on Save. So now the penultimate profile that we are going to look at is Enterprise Single Sign-On. This must have been one of the tickets that have been commonly encountered by most administrators, where the users say that they have forgotten their passcodes and they need to reset this. With more organizations moving towards a mobile-first workforce and a cloud-only enterprise, there are high chances that web apps and cloud services are going to be the future, and thus the users need to remember multiple passcodes, which automatically leads to passcode fatigue. Using enterprise single sign-on ensures that the user needs to sign in using one particular passcode to access multiple apps as well as services over a period of time. So I need to provide an account display name. It's going to be Silker Test. And then provide a Kerberos principal name based on the Kerberos server that is present within the organization, as well as provide a Kerberos realm. Then I need to add an identity certificate. And in case I want single sign-on to be applicable for apps, I need to allow it for either all apps or specific apps. Similarly, there's this option of enabling single sign-on for specific domains as well. So once you're done with it, you need to save and publish this profile. The last payload that we are going to see today is wallpaper. So as I explained previously, the devices which interact with your customers, such as when the customers are interacting with the point of sale device or with self-service portal, you would want your organization's logo to be present on either the home screen or lock screen or both. MDM's wallpaper policy ensures that you can choose to add a wallpaper for both the home screen as well as the lock screen. All you need to do is either drag and drop the image here or click on browse and select the image. So once you're done, just save and distribute the profile to the devices where it gets automatically applied. So the next scenario that we are going to see is how to prevent unmanaged devices from accessing corporate emails. As you all know, once the user gets hold of their credentials, they can use it on any device to access corporate data that is present on Exchange servers. These devices might not be managed by MDM. So how do you try and secure a device that is not enrolled with MDM using MDM? It seems like a conundrum. Though MDM does not allow you to enroll to manage devices that are not enrolled with MDM, it however lets you manage the Exchange server that is present in your organization. This can be done using conditional exchange access. Conditional exchange access, as the name suggests, ensures that only managed devices can access the corporate Exchange server, preventing unmanaged devices from accessing the Exchange server, thereby ensuring data security and preventing unauthorized access. So let me see how this is to be configured. So I'll quickly take you to the MDM server, but before that, you need to understand the basic prerequisites for conditional exchange access. First among which is that the Active Directory needs to be configured on MDM, self-enrollment needs to be enabled, and basic authentication needs to be enabled on the machine that is running Exchange server. This is applicable only in case the server is running Windows Server 2010. Now let me explain the basic conditional exchange access workflow. Firstly, you need to integrate the Exchange account with the MDM server, after which you configure a conditional exchange access policy. As you can see, this is admin performed and is one time. Once the conditional exchange policy has been configured, it gets enforced and only those devices that are enrolled with MDM can access the corporate exchange mailboxes. So I'll take you to the server, click on device management and select conditional exchange access. So I'm going to apply this for Office 365. You select this option. The server name gets automatically pre-filled. I provide the username and password. Then I click on next. Now I need to configure a conditional exchange policy. For that purpose, I click on configure now. And I need to apply this policy on all users. In case you want to apply it for select users, you can select that option as well. Additionally, I want to provide the users with some amount of grace time for them to enroll their devices with MDM. During this grace period, the users can continue to access their Exchange mailboxes. However, they'll be sent alert every 24 hours asking them to enroll their devices with MDM for continued access to Exchange. So once I'm done with configuring the policy, I click on Apply Policy. As you can see, the policy has been configured successfully. And now we get the status of the devices after the policy has been applied. So these are the 7 devices which have been restricted access to Exchange, while a further 3 devices are still in grace period. So what do these restricted devices need to do in order to regain access? All they need to do is enroll their devices via self-enrollment to regain access back to the Exchange server, as they'll get enrolled with MDM. This brings us to the end of the second scenario. So in case you have any queries, please don't hesitate to post it on chat. Now we'll have a quick look at a few other scenarios and their solutions. So the first scenario is that my organization uses Windows devices. So how can I enroll these devices in bulk without user interaction? As I stated previously, MDM has dedicated bulk enrollment methods for Windows devices such as Windows Autopilot, as well as enrollment using Windows Imaging and Configuration Designer. In case you want to know further details regarding these enrollment methods, we can provide you with a personalized demo in case you're interested. So to show your interest, please provide your details on chat and we'll contact you and set up a session at a date and time of your convenience. The second scenario that we're going to see is one of the most common scenarios that are encountered in an enterprise. We see employees move from one department to the other, but sadly, the trouble is for the IT administrator who needs to remove the previously associated profiles and apps, and then apply the new profiles and apps pertaining to the department to which the employee has just moved. So does MDM ease this process? Most certainly MDM does ease this process. So I'll show you how this is done by taking you to the MDM server. So click on device management, click on a particular group, say finance department. Now assuming this particular employee is moving to a new department, I select the device that's associated with the employee, click on move to group, and select the department, which is marketing department, and then I click on select. Once I'm done with that, all the previously associated profiles, apps, and documents get removed from the device, and all the profiles, apps, and documents pertaining to the new group gets automatically associated to the device. The third scenario, I do not want any downloads from my internal websites to be accessed using unauthorized and unapproved apps. Is it possible? Yeah, most certainly it's possible using MDM, which ensures that any downloads from a particular URL can be accessed only using a managed app. So let me see how this is done. I'll take you back to the MDM server. Click on profiles. Click on create profile. Select Apple. Click on continue. And then select the option managed web domains. So any URL you provide here will be considered as a managed web domain, and any download that is done from this particular domain can be accessed only using corporate approved apps, which is otherwise referred as managed apps, and these apps are managed by MDM. The fourth scenario is I don't want users to remove devices from a management. How can I do that? I already explained how to ensure that users don't revoke management in case of iOS devices. Let me explain how this can be done in case of Android and Windows devices. So I'll take you back to the MDM server again. Click on enrollment and click on MDM app that is present under Android, and ensure that this option is set as no. Allow user to remove MDM app. So if you set this as no, the user cannot uninstall app and thus cannot revoke management. As I said previously, you require the MDM app to be present on the device for MDM management. What in case of Windows? So select the MDM settings that is present under Windows 10 and select this option no to prevent users from deleting the MDM workspace account. This ensures that users cannot revoke management. So we're going to look at the questions that have been posed by the customers. The first question is that I have purchased a few devices neither directly from Apple nor from its resellers. Can I enroll these devices with Apple Business Manager? As you just saw, Apple Business Manager has a whole lot of benefits, but it does come with certain prerequisites. So is there any workaround for enrolling other devices? Most certainly there is a workaround, but this workaround comes with a set of prerequisites as well. For enrolling devices into ABM, for enrolling those devices that have been purchased neither from Apple or its reseller using ABM, the first prerequisite is that ABM must be available in your country. The second prerequisite is that the devices must be running iOS 11 or must be capable of running iOS 11. So how to enroll these devices into ABM? You can actually do that using Apple Configurator. When you're preparing a blueprint, ensure that this option, Add to Device Enrollment Program, is selected. Device Enrollment Program, as I stated previously, is another name for ABM. So once you've selected this option, the device gets added to Apple Business Manager and thus can avail all benefits pertaining to Apple Business Manager despite the device being added using Apple Configurator. The second question is, how does MDM protect the server from unauthorized access? All along, we have seen how MDM protects corporate data, how MDM protects the device, or how MDM protects certain apps. How does MDM protect itself from unauthorized access? So I'll show you what all policies we have got for that. So I'll click on the admin tab and select user administration. And then I click on this option, secure authentication. There's this option of either enabling two-factor authentication, whereby you can have either email or Google Authenticate as your mode of authentication. You can also have a strong passcode policy to prevent guessing of passcodes via brute force. So this ensures that there's no unauthorized access to the MDM server and thus no access to any of its confidential data as well. The third question is it possible to apply a profile created for one platform to devices running on other platforms? Since every profile has certain technical specifications that are platform dependent, there's no way you can apply a profile that is created for one platform to devices that are running on other platforms. I want to apply different policies as separate profiles. Is that possible? So we just saw how to configure multiple policies into a single profile. However, the converse case is available as well. You can have multiple profiles, each of them containing a single policy, and this can be distributed to the devices without any worry. So this must have been the next question that must have popped into your mind. What happens if I distribute two profiles with two contradictory restrictions? So let me explain this with an example. Firstly, you distribute a profile that contains a passcode policy which requires the minimum passcode to be 6 and the camera is disabled. And then you immediately distribute another profile which mandates the minimum passcode length to be 8 and the camera to be enabled. In case of Android, it prefers the most recent combination whereby the passcode length becomes 8 and the camera, which was previously disabled, becomes enabled now. However, in case of iOS and Windows, the most secure combination is preferred, whereby the camera stays disabled. However, the minimum passcode length changes from 6 to 8. This brings us to the end of this training session. If you enjoyed this training session, you can rate this on a scale of 1 to 5, where 5 is the best. You can also spread a word regarding MDM training session on various social media. Thank you for your time and have a great Christmas and a New Year. Thank you.